get out of the tractor and flip this lever up like it is now to manually lock it. The reason is you pick it up with the electrics and you start down the road and you hit a bump and this jiggles a little and this loses power, it opens. The whole thing will smash down. It'll just drop right now. So you don't want to run down the road with it up in the air with the electrical solenoid holding it. You only use that on a temporary basis.
With that fully extended, does it still lift it up high enough to be off the ground?
No.
No, that's what you got to remember. If you're going to go down the road, you want that cylinder probably in the fully retracted position.
You want it fully retracted.
Because it'll lock in any position you put it in, but you want it fully retracted so you get your maximum height.
Right.
Or if you're thinking you need maximum height.
Right.
Because if you lock it halfway out, now pretty soon this is only going to be maybe a foot off the ground or whatever.
Not much. So you want to, before you go, the way that this, once we get the adjustment set pretty much for the 3-point, for the detent for the 3-point, this frame is pretty much going to be in the same position all the time. As you're going down the trail and going up and over stuff, these two parallel arms are moving up and down as the tractor goes up over stuff and back down. This rotor is going to remain in a constant height in relation to wherever the pan is. It's like, think of this as the front blade on your bulldozer, and that's where your tracks are. If you want to raise it up, you push the pan down, and that means if you pull the lever back, you're raising the rotor up. If you're pushing the lever forward, you're pushing the rotor down. That's all it is, that number 2 lever. In normal operations, this is floating, that one's floating, this is just sitting here working its way along, and the only one that you're messing with is that number 2 position lever.
Which one runs that middle cylinder?
That one?
Yep.
It's number 1 position, and it's in float. So this thing will follow you around. You look behind you, and if one side of your pan is actually getting a heck of a lot more traction on the trail or something, it might be trying to pull it to turn it sideways. And in that case, you might have to lock that, get it straight behind you, and just leave it in the neutral position and just drive. And then when you get a little further down the trail, push it back into float. But it, for the most part, will follow you around just fine. You don't have to worry about it.
I got a question.
Yeah.
If you're going to be using the pan thing the most of anything, can you put that on the number 1 lever? Wouldn't that be handier?
No.
It'd be handier, but then you get back to your different valves on the tractor.
If this second valve was a 200, that's the way we have it.
1 and 3 are the same thing, aren't they?
1 and 3 are the same, and they have.
Is it number 1 priority for running a motor? Well, it doesn't really matter.
No, number 3 is the priority one for is the high flow on this tractor.
Oh,
Right.
is it? Okay.
Yeah, number 3. So the
Okay.
motor's over there, and then these two. If we had a 200 valve on this number 2 position, then we would reverse those because we'd be running the pan first, floating second for left, right, and then the motor's curl over away from it. That's the last one that you're going to be playing with. When this thing comes to a driveway, and the tractor starts going up the driveway, these 2 arms are going to roll up. The whole unit is going to raise up like this as the tractor goes up on the driveway, up the side. Once the tractor gets to the top and starts to nose over, this top cylinder will extend, allowing the pan and the rotor to follow up the side of the driveway. Now this is where that 3-point adjustment comes in. Once we get that pretty close, you shouldn't have to mess with it, but that's the point when the tractor comes over. These plates will come up until the bars are resting on these pins. Then this starts to get longer. It allows everything to follow the contour of the driveway on the way up. And then as the tractor drops over the other side, it keeps from grabbing on the back end and holding the whole thing up. Before that was able to extend, we would come to a driveway and it would start up fine, but as soon as the tractor came over the top, this would raise up, catch those, and it would pick the whole back end up. And all that snow that you had with you would make a big dump right in front of the driveway. Not good. It makes a big old hump.
Most people got plowed driveways, you're going to end up doing that anyway because you got to pick it up to get over. You don't want to groom across everybody's driveway.
Not really. You would want to pull out, get into the driveway, push the snow off into the ditch,
Go back.
and then go back. Or you can drive up to it and grab it with a bucket and pull it back. But it just allows you to go up and over things. When you start down the other side, it'll do the same thing. It'll be resting on the pan as it comes across the driveway. The tractor starts down the other side. That cylinder will extend. It'll follow across the top, and then as the tractor comes off the bottom into the ditch on the other side, this unit will follow it down, and the pan will just go all the way across. You should not end up with these big lumps up against the drive where it dumped its load of snow.
Normally, you don't have to raise the 3-point up and down at all?
No, you shouldn't have to.
So you come to a driveway, you float the cylinder, so you're not digging up driveway and then you get back in.
Just to be sure. Once you get that height set, you shouldn't have to float that. It's probably a good thing to do safety-wise, just in case, but once you get it set to the right height, it shouldn't really need to be every couple of days, maybe.
The arrows over here on the back and whatnot are pointing to the greaser. I don't know if they're red down there. If you get down there, there's one up here, yellow marks and red marks.
You can look in, there's one in there, and there's one up underneath here, which greases these pivots for these two back here. These are red, they have greasers on them.
Probably futile, but for those sealed, these bearings are sealed, but they do have a greaser on them.
Right.
So you only want
Not
to put
much.
about a pump of grease in those every couple, 3 days.
Yeah, these don't take much, the rotor doesn't. All these pivots have Zerks on them. There's Zerk here, there's one underneath. I think that is the only one that has one on top, and it's right on top of the bolt.
Yeah, there's no underneath one back there. It's just on top.
This, we shouldn't lose any oil out of it. The chain case has got oil in it. It seeps a little bit. It's got a number 80 chain in there running around. That's pretty much it.
I change the speed of the rotor.
You don't.
So you're going 10 mile an hour or 4
Well,
mile
you
an
keep
hour?
your
at speed
your RPM up. And I brought my tack with me. I'm going to check and see what it is, what we have for speed on the rotor. The nice thing is that the motor that they gave us is a 19 cubic inch per revolution motor. This thing makes an ass load of torque. We might be able to find a way to pull the flow down and then change the chain case gearing to turn the rotor back up, get the rotor at higher speed, because it would still have more than enough torque to chew up the dirt or the ice.
So your ground speed varies, you don't have to vary the speed of that?
No, just leave your engine RPM up.
Like a mower.
Yeah, like a mower. Run in lower gear. When you come to a mogul or something like that, you can lower this guy down, slow down, and just chew right through it. It'll level it right off.
Are there shields in front?
No.
So it's not going to throw anything at the cab?
It's going this way. No, it doesn't.
It doesn't throw, it throws some.
Throws a little-
There's some
Nothing-
dust
nothing
going on
serious.
back here.
Yeah.
We're,
It's like you hit a rock, it's not going
no, no. Bicycle trail chunks it might throw up against the window.
Well, we'll just keep an eye on it. Open it
We're
up.
working on a rear wiper kit for it. So,
Open it up so it hits you in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Hey, dummy.
yeah, raise the rotor.
No, you gotta keep it somewhat.
Really, it'll be steer it, pay attention to your rotor height, lock the float up for the left, right from time to time if you need it. Beyond that, it should just basically run itself. Be careful going over driveways, float out the rotor, that's the key, making sure you don't snap that thing back to the neutral position. It would be actually best if you had that third lever in the float position when you started the tractor up. It doesn't matter, start it in neutral or start it in float, but don't, once it's running, never pull it back to the neutral, always push it to float to stop the rotor.
Put a little label in there right next to that so people see that.
Could make up a sticker or something, but we have to look over and read it.
'Cause that's important.
I know.
Are you talking if your engine is idle down and everything, you can't pull the lever back then either? You should go to float first?
Go to float.
Okay.
But I found that you can go to float
And just.
and then just snap it, and it'll snap right to neutral without doing anything to it. But it's always best to do the rotor when the engine's down at low RPM.
Leave all your pressures and everything, then snap it back through. It won't bother.
And I'm working on the motor drain. They can't seem to come up with the right
Base drain or motor
Okay.
return?
motor return to the lower port down here. They can't seem to come up with the fitting that goes in there that takes one of these hoses. They'll take the flat end ones like they have on skid loaders, but that's not the kind of end we have. I want to come back to one of these down there.
What do you got, a hydraulic cover?
No, there's a plug in there, and that's motor return, so it doesn't have to work its way back
You
to
want
the
to dump
valve
the,
kit.
you want to dump the rotor rotor
Oil
motor
back into the case.
oil back in quicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Takes a lot of fitting.
I know, but Deere hasn't been able to cook. They list one and they give it to you, and it's for a skid loader. It's got the flat end. It doesn't. It's a different hookup than this.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll get it later.
I mean, if it's in float up there,
don't they
get
give
snow
you